news coverage. Well, despite the beauty of the snow outside, it's important to remember that conditions are still dangerous and can be deadly. At least one death has been attributed to the weather. Last night, an accident on Highway 269 in Jefferson County took a woman's life. Jefferson County sheriffs say the road conditions were to blame for that death. So remember to stay off the roads this morning unless you absolutely have to go out. The storm has, of course, had a drastic effect on the usual Sunday morning activities across central Alabama. Many churches have canceled their morning services. Now, there are too many to list each church individually, so if you feel you can get to your church, be sure and call before you go out. Roads, of course, are not in good condition this morning. They are icy and snow-covered. Police say many roads are impassable, so do not go out unless absolutely necessary. State troopers say ice on the roads this morning is a serious threat for motorists. Now, with more on road conditions, Victoria McCullough joins us live from the interstate. Victoria, how's it looking out there?
You said it before, James. It is icy, and believe me, it is. We're actually in 5 points on South Side, and the snow has been packed solid throughout the night, and it has turned into an absolute sheet of ice. In fact, I'm glad you didn't take this camera a few minutes ago. You would have seen me on the ground. It's very difficult to walk on. It's even more difficult to drive on, and sometimes we don't realize how hilly this area is. You can see that truck behind me taking a skid there. We have a street light here, and everybody pulling up to it just about skids. You really do not want to be out here on the streets today. Take it from people who were out on, take that advice from people who were out on the streets all night.
10-4 Shelby 911 advises it's going to be a
3 a.m. in the radio room, and these people have no choice. When the call comes, they have to be on the road. Ambulance drivers have been traveling city streets all night. Here's how they describe conditions.
A lot of ice and crazy people driving fast.
Oh, it's very messy, and bridges are iced over, and just stay indoors. There's no sense being out.
Some of the drivers who didn't follow that advice ended up regretting it overnight. The driver of this car had to get help to make it up 20th Street South. And look at this on I-2059 northbound. It happened about 4 this morning. A pickup truck stuck on a patch of ice. The harder the driver tried to break free, the deeper his truck dug in. Police pitched in. There was a close call when a semi-truck got involved and almost jackknifed, but the semi straightened itself and moved along. Eventually, so did the pickup. Police went to aid the next stranded motorist, and the sand truck moved in. If you have to be on the roads today, maybe this is the way to do it. So get a sled or a plastic tray or even a piece of cardboard and enjoy the day with the snow, and try to stay out of your car and try to stay off of these roads, because it really is a mess out here.
We can certainly see that, Victoria. Thanks a lot, and you be careful driving back up here.
Thank you.
Now, the one good thing about all of this is the fact that the sun is shining again. The snow has ended for all of our viewing area, but boy, what a winter storm this was. I want to show you some of the specific snow totals. These are totals across the Channel 6 viewing area. It seems as though the bullseye for this winter storm occurred in northern Shelby County, down to the south of Birmingham. A number of folks reporting to us snowfall in the 7-inch range. In the Birmingham area, 5-inch snowfall totals were common. That's the amount here on Red Mountain at Channel 6. Again, some of the other points we have, Tuscaloosa with 5 inches of snow on the ground this morning. In East Alabama, 3.5 inches for Anniston, 3 inches at Gadsden. Up in Walker County, Jasper with 3 inches. Even down in parts of Coosa and Tallapoosa counties, we have some 5-inch totals. Farther east, Atlanta at Hartsfield International Airport, they have 5 inches of snow on the ground this morning. And back in eastern Mississippi at Starkville and Columbus, they have 4 inches of snow. Certainly a very impressive storm, one that many of us will remember for quite a while. Now, with the snow on the ground and with skies clearing during the pre-dawn hours, temperatures are very cold. Of course, one reason we have ice all over the place, you can see these observations this morning. 22 here at the Doppler 6 Weather Center on Red Mountain. Even colder to our north, 20 now in Huntsville and Muscle Shoals. Tuscaloosa and Gadsden with 25. It's 27 now in Anniston. Down in Bibb County at Brent, 26. Montgomery now at freezing with 32. Auburn with 27, and you really have to go down to the southern tier of counties, Dothan over to Evergreen and Bruton and Mobile, where temperatures are above freezing, but not by far. They have mid-30s down that way. But the snow is over, I'm afraid, for you folks that like to see it fall. This is the radar. You can see what's left of the snow that we had last night moving well off into South Carolina and parts of extreme eastern Georgia. Now, there is one little secondary disturbance coming through near the Gulf Coast. You can see some light radar echoes here south of Jackson and Meridian. Could see some light snow flurries across South Alabama today. We think that will stay far enough to the south not to bother us. So we'll have a mixture of clouds and sunshine today. It will be dry. But temperatures will struggle to warm up, though. With the snow cover, I'm not so sure we'll see 40 today, probably mid-30s at best by the afternoon hours. Now, here's the view from the satellite standpoint. The bright white enhanced clouds, that's where the snow and the rain is occurring now. Parts of South Carolina with still some snow falling back up into parts of North Carolina, but the intensities are generally decreasing here as conditions become less favorable for heavy snow. These folks will probably see 1 to 2 inches here. And, of course, it's all rain down to the south, locally heavy rain through parts of North Florida. And here's this little secondary disturbance. You can see how that's probably going to move mainly across the southern part of the state. Maybe the southernmost part of our viewing area could see some snow flurries later today. But, again, that should not pose any additional accumulation. But, boy, what a storm this was. One more time, we want to show you kind of a chart of the snow cover across the southeastern states and Alabama. This was the bullseye here, 4 to 7 inches, and this is not that uncommon with a winter storm like this. Usually there's a narrow strip where this can happen, and it's right over Birmingham. Generally speaking, the heavier snow amounts were right along Interstate 20 and then about 50 miles to the south. Up to the north, 1 to 3 inches here through parts of Walker, Coleman County over toward Gadsden, then 1 inch or less across the Tennessee Valley of North Alabama. And then south of Montgomery and south of Linden and York, all of the precipitation came in the form of just a cold rain yesterday and last night. What's to come, we'll take a look at our 5-day planning forecast, and you can see we're talking today kind of a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Now, I've indicated a high of 39 today. After looking at the latest information this morning, I'm not so sure we're going to reach that. That's optimistic at best. Now, tomorrow, of course, everybody goes back to work, or many of us will go back to work, and we're expecting bright sunshine tomorrow and much warmer tomorrow afternoon with a high at 54. But notice tomorrow morning, we'll see temperatures down in the mid-20s, and I guess there's a chance we could see some refreezing of whatever slush is left. Then beyond that, a chance of rain by Wednesday and Thursday with warmer temperatures. A man who has been with us all night long, all day yesterday on our weather staff is Kevin Collins, and he's been getting the outside duty. In fact, Kevin is still outside as we speak, just outside the back door here at Channel 6. Kevin?
Let me in, let me in. No, I'm only kidding. As you look outside this morning, James, you might look around and you think, well, this is the calm after the storm. But this is going to be very, very deceiving today, especially on the roadways. And let me refer to the snow down here. This white stuff that hasn't been touched, if nobody's walked on it, if nobody's driven on it, it's still very fluffy, it's very granular, it's very cold, obviously. This is not bad. It's still slippery. But what happens where people have driven or people have walked, the compression by the weight of whatever's gone over this has melted this last night, and this has refrozen. This is rock-solid ice here. This is going to be very bad for driving and even very bad for just walking. If you're going out just to get the paper this morning or walk around the block and look at the pretty snowfall, be very, very careful. This is extremely slippery. What's going to happen during the day today, if the temperature gets high enough later on this afternoon, this is going to start to melt. Once that does, we'll see some slush on a lot of the roadways and areas. That's going to refreeze again tonight, especially with the clear skies we're going to have tonight and very cold temperatures. That will refreeze and become even more dangerous again tomorrow morning, especially as people are going back to work. Let me remind you of a couple of driving tips. If you're driving along and you start to skid, steer in the direction of the skid. Keep your wheels going forward right down the road. If you're coming to stop at a traffic light or a stop sign, pump the brakes. Don't put the pedal to the floor. You will skid, and you will probably skid into the person in front of you. Once again, be careful of the bridges as well. Those bridges are going to freeze up before any other road surface because of that cold air flowing underneath them. Above all, if you don't have to go out, don't go out. Stay inside, drink a cup of hot chocolate, and just enjoy the very, very pretty view on this bright and sunny winter day. James, we'll go back to you.
Now, Kevin, you're from the New England area. You grew up with a lot of snow. What's some advice for kids that want to get out and have some fun in the snow today?
I say go on out and do it. Build yourself a snowman. This stuff's kind of dry now. It may not pack together too easily, but I'm sure they can handle it.
Okay, Kevin, thanks a lot. That's Kevin Collins live out the back door here at Channel 6 on Red Mountain. Now, the Birmingham airport has been closed since late last night. Some crews and travelers were stranded overnight because of the winter storm conditions. Now, Terry Denard joins us live from the airport. And Terry, the big question, is the airport open this morning?
James, operations are getting back to normal this morning. We haven't had any arrivals or departures so far. That's expected to change within the next half hour. You can see the cars behind me. Some folks are arriving, unloading in anticipation of getting on a flight. Spoke with one family driving from Pensacola headed to Illinois. They decided to stop here and see if they could get a plane ride home. Now, this follows a long night for many airport workers and a few travelers. Almost all was quiet overnight at the Birmingham airport. A snowblower and snowplow worked to clear the snow and ice off the runways so that traffic could resume on schedule. Only a handful of flights were actually canceled, including one carrying the Birmingham Ski Club back home. By midnight, not a creature was stirring at the airport counters.
Just being busy, you know, so that keeps you warm by itself.
Planes were being packed in for the night, the main concern keeping the engines free of ice, and so they were capped for the night. Inside, we found one lone traveler in the halls, a man heading home to Seattle after visiting relatives here. These halls would be his sleeping quarters for the night.
I've already got a spot picked out, and I got all my bags and everything over there, so I'm not too concerned. I mean, I'm used to it. You know, I have a military background, and, you know, I've had worse outdoor conditions.
That you have. Local rental car company was called into work this morning. He couldn't get his car started, so James, he rode his child's bicycle here to the airport. And I think we're going to stick around a little bit. The ski club's due to arrive a little later this morning. They'll certainly be prepared to get to their homes.
That's great. So Terry, I've lived here most of my life. I have a hard time remembering the last time the airport being closed because of snow. This is pretty odd for those folks out there, isn't it?
Sure is, and dealing with it on the runways. Right now the runways are clear. They've worked hard all night. Also, some of the flights in from other areas, that's been the problem. Spoke with a gentleman this morning at Hartsville International Airport. He says they have remained open but been crippled at times. He says they've got about 4 or 5 inches on the ground and had some major delays over there as well.
That's great. Terry Denard, thanks a lot for getting out in the cold weather this morning. That's Terry Denard reporting live from the Birmingham airport. Of course, we have snow all over the place throughout north-central Alabama. Anniston, of course, getting a nice blanket of snow. The Channel 6 News Bureau up and at him this morning. You're looking, in fact, at a live picture coming from Calhoun County in the Anniston area, looking up on one of the big ridges there in Anniston. You can see quite a blanket of snow on the ground there in the Anniston area. Around 3 inches. That was the latest official report from the airport there. That looks about proper from looking at those live pictures. And as you can see, the sun is also shining brightly now in the easternmost part of Alabama. So, again, wrapping things up, again, let me point out for those of you that are up wondering whether or not to go to church, we have had dozens and dozens of phone calls from churches in the Birmingham area, of course, just too numerous to list specifically on the air. Most churches have canceled their morning worship service and their Sunday school for this morning. Some, though, however, have decided to continue their late service. So you might want to call your church before leaving out. Of course, as we pointed out, road conditions are very hazardous this morning, and it's certainly a good idea to stay home. But if you feel led to go to church, if you think your church is open, be sure and call before you go, because I'd say 70 to 80% of the churches have canceled their morning worship services this morning. Again, let me show you a graphic kind of summarizing here. That's a look at the snow cover across north and central Alabama. Heaviest snowfall along and about 50 miles south of Interstate 20. 4 to 7 inch snowfall amounts are very common. Really, this is very reminiscent of some snows we used to have back in the 60s, back in 63 and I believe 1966. We had snows like this. Not that many of late, so certainly this is quite a treat. Again, in terms of the real problems with this, we've had at least one fatality directly related to the storm, an accident that occurred last night on Alabama Highway 269 north of the Inslee area. And again, we would not like to report any more statistics like that. So if possible, stay home, enjoy it, have a good time. The snow is over. We'll have sunshine much of the day today with temperatures struggling to reach the mid-30s. And of course, as always, we'll be in here in the Doppler 6 Weather Center to keep you posted. Thanks for joining us this morning. This has been a live special report. I'm James Spann.
This has been a Channel 6 News special report.
We now join the following program, already in progress.
The ice is beginning to melt and turn to slush. Good afternoon. I'm Terry Denard.
And I'm Art Franklin. Thanks for joining us as we continue our 24-hour news coverage of the winter storm. We've been giving you steady checks on the road conditions throughout the day. Authorities are still advising people to stay off the roads. Now, as you can see, many roads are still covered with ice and snow, but they are beginning to melt. Here's the latest information on roads at this time. All interstates in Jefferson County are open. I-65 in Shelby County has now been open. I-20 and 59 are open across the state, except in Tuscaloosa County. Southbound lane there now, I understand, is open. I-20 east towards Atlanta is open, but very hazardous. The Red Mountain Expressway is officially closed, as is Highway 31 over Shades Mountain in Vestavia. Other highways closed in Jefferson County are Highway 269 and Highway 150. Highway 280 is closed at Double Oak Mountain. In Shelby County, Highway 47 from Columbiana to 280 closed. In Walker County, Highway 78 is now passable, and that's according to Walker County Sheriff's Department. In Blount County, Highway 75 from Sneed to Oneonta is closed, as is Highway 231 from Oneonta to Pell City. In Talladega County, Highways 280 and 231 remain closed. In Chilton County, Highways 155 and 82 are closed. In St. Clair and Bibb counties, all roads there closed. And in Coleman County, all roads are open, but very dangerous.
The sunshine is a welcome addition to the road cleanup effort. As you just reported, the major roads are open. For the most part, travel is a little easier. The ice is giving way to slush. You should still use caution when traveling.
And of course, crews are working as fast as they can to clean up the roads, but the secondary roads are now posing problems. It is not uncommon to see cars stalled and people trying to dig out. Now, we have Sarah Versa standing by live with more. Sarah?
Sarah, tell us about all this.
Well, Art and Terry, as you said, you need to use extreme caution when you're traveling on the roads. Many of the major roads are open, but the secondary roads are going to pose a big problem. You're going to see a lot of ice and slush, mostly ice, and that's what's making it very dangerous to travel on. Now, that's why they're the big problem. Icy travel is just not a major people don't know how to travel on that for the most part. I've talked to the Streets and Sanitation Department. They tell me that their trucks are going out every 10 minutes with sand, trying to rectify this problem, but they say it will still be several hours before they'll have this mess cleaned up. Terry and Art?
All right, thank you, Sarah. And now let's turn to a check on the latest forecast.
Dan Satterfield joins us now in the Doppler 6 Weather Center. Dan?
Okay, folks, here's what it looks like. Right now, it's still cold outside, but things are beginning to melt. How much snow did you wake up to this morning? A band right across central Alabama, 4 to 7 inches. Now, officially, the airport at 4.5 inches, which really doesn't rank it as one of the major snowfalls in Birmingham history, although down in Shelby County, 7 inches, over in Atlanta, between 5 and 8 inches of snow. This is a mixture of 11 a.m. and noontime temperatures here. Birmingham, 33, that's our observation. 35 over in Anniston. We'll update Montgomery now to 40. Huntsville is up to 36. So with the sunshine, even though it's coming through some high, thin clouds, that's a good sign. It will start to melt the slush on the roads. Here's the satellite loop. There's the storm. As it crossed across the Carolinas, it dumped an inch of snow in Wilmington on the coast. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on the beach, an inch of snow, some rain showers down in Florida. There's an upper air disturbance. You can see it right there shooting by the state. That's kind of bad news. That's giving us that high, thin cloud cover that's kind of blocking the sun. It'll probably keep our temperature from getting very warm. But all the precip is now off to the east, some rain and thunder showers down in Florida, and that's where it's going to stay. One thing I want to mention here, tonight, a lot of this ice is going to evaporate on the roads. We call it sublimation, so tomorrow won't be as bad, but don't get me wrong, tomorrow morning rush hour is going to be no picnic. Let's go ahead and show you our forecast. And for today, soft sunshine out there. The temperature's climbing back up to about 37 to 39 degrees. A north wind at 6 to 14. Hard freeze again tonight, 26. I may have to lower that with this snow cover. Depends on how much melts and what cloud cover we have. And then for tomorrow, the big melt takes place, the high at 52. And your 5-day planning forecast, another storm is on the way for Wednesday and Thursday, but Terry, Art, this one is going to be rain, and it better be. I need some sleep.
We'll take that.
I've been out today, and I really would still recommend to people to stay off the road.
I drove home at midnight last night. I got home. Coming into work this morning at 9 a.m., it was much worse. Wait a while. It is really bad.
Yeah, got to be careful out there.
Thanks, Dan. Well, business is back to normal at the Birmingham airport. Planes began departing and arriving at the airport shortly after 9 o'clock this morning.
There were some brief delays as ice and snow were removed from the airplanes, which had stayed in Birmingham overnight. Also this morning, about 40 members of the Birmingham Ski Club arrived home with members of another ski group, and as you can see, some had a very uncomfortable ride. You didn't have to leave here to go skiing.
Well, we got our skis with us, so if all else fails, we can ski home.
Tell me about your trip. You almost made it back in last night.
Yeah, we got about, I'd say 15 minutes from landing, and they turned us around and sent us back to Dallas-Fort Worth.
There are very few delays now being reported at the Birmingham airport, but there are still some lengthy delays in Atlanta, so that could affect some of the traffic coming in here.
So a lot of headaches over there at the airport as you were out there, I'm sure.
Okay, you had a pretty good mood. They were in a pretty good mood about it all, though.
Yeah, that's good. Well, the snowstorm left a lot of people stranded at motels and hotels, especially those near the interstates.
Michael Jones has been checking on that story this morning. He's in our newsroom now. Michael, any vacancies out there?
Terry, not many at all, especially, as you said, around the interstates. One motel that's been very busy the last 24 hours is the Holiday Inn at I-65 in Homewood. We stopped by there this morning just a little while ago, and they were busy trying to get people in and out as best they could. A lot of people decided to stay after the snow began falling and the roads began closing. A lot of folks are asking for late checkouts today as they wait to see what the road conditions are. We talked to one man from Chicago who was just a little amused at all the fuss over the snow.
I like the weather. It's just like home.
That's right. You're not homesick then.
Not right. There's really no problem for us. But I noticed that it does seem to cause some trouble for the local people.
It does indeed cause a little trouble for the local people. We're just not used to it, of course. They were trying to make it to the Birmingham airport to catch the flight back to Chicago. As you pointed out, Terry, the airport's no problem. The problem is getting from Homewood out to the airport.
That's exactly right. I got news for him. It's not like Chicago.
No, it's not.
Thanks, Michael. Well, recapping our latest news on the winter storms, roads are still slick. The ice is beginning to melt. Authorities are still advising people to stay off the street.
And, of course, as we said, temperatures are warming up, and the streets should be drivable tomorrow as the big melt comes, as Dan says. The airport is back to normal this afternoon. Terry can attest to that. Planes began departing and arriving shortly after 9 o'clock this morning.
It's a rare sight to see them de-icing those planes.
Well, of course, that's the latest update on the winter storm conditions for now. Our 24-hour news coverage will continue throughout the day.
And be sure to join us again at 5:30 for the latest winter storm update. We'll see you then.
So long.
This has been a Channel 6 News special report.
Now, here's the latest on the road conditions as we take a look at recent videotape of Red Mountain Expressway, the conditions there. Now a check on highway information. All major highways in Jefferson County are open except the following. Highway 31, Shades Crest Road to Lakeshore. Valleydale to Hoover closed. Red Mountain Expressway. Highways 269 and 150 are also closed. Closings in Shelby County include Highway 280 closed over the mountain. Double Oak Mountain passage is closed, as well as Highway 47, Columbiana to 280, also closed. In Tuscaloosa County, I-59, I-20, southbound lane only is open. County roads continue to be extremely hazardous. In Walker County, Highway 69, South Oakman to Tuscaloosa closed, and Highway 269, Inslee to Jasper also closed. Now for a check on the latest weather conditions, Dan Satterfield is standing by in our Doppler 6 Weather Center. Dan?
Okay, Art, we'll start back with this morning when you got up and looked outside, wondered how much snow is out there. Well, a big band of 4 to 7 inches right across the center part of the state. I'd say North Shelby County probably got the absolute most, even a couple of reports of 8 inches plus down there. Right now, the entire state of Alabama is above freezing. The snow is slowly but surely beginning to melt. The roads will improve first. However, when the temperature drops below freezing tonight, many areas will freeze, but some of that will evaporate, so there's some good news there. Some high clouds coming across the state, too, right now. That's tending to slow down the heating from the sun, so this melt's going to be kind of slow, but it'll really pick up tomorrow. Most of the snow will be gone by tomorrow night. Art?
Thanks, Dan. I want to remind you to stay tuned to Channel 6 for continuous updates throughout the day, and, of course, to stay tuned to the telethon, and that's where we return you now.